So the big question is this: how do most agents who don't have access to the secrets that the top agents in our industry hoard to themselves grow and prosper in today's real estate environment? That's the question. And this video podcast is the answer. I'm Pat Hyben, and welcome to Real Estate Rockstars. Rockstar Nation, thanks so much for listening. Don't forget to stay to the end, where our guests will be offering a free gift. As you know, all of our guests offer a free gift, and all of these gifts can be found on the Agent Success Toolbox. You could find that by going to hybendigital.com/toolbox, or simply texting the word toolbox to 444-999. That's toolbox to 444-999. I am going to put today's free gift in today's show notes, but if you want all of them, including gifts from most of our guests that have come on the show, just go to the Agent Success Toolbox. All right, Rockstar Nation, I got a great guest for you today, coming out of the Boston, Massachusetts area, Mr. Mike Russo. And guys, this is going to be, there's some things we're going to talk about today. They're controversial, but they're things that you need to think about and you need to understand as to the future of real estate offers with real estate agents, and the way everyone is communicating today, and the way many feel buyers and sellers and agents are going to communicate in the future, and it's going to change everything you do. So stay tuned for this. It's going to be great. Mike Russo, I'll let him introduce himself, but basically he was the founder and one of the CEO at Concierge Auction Services. We're going to talk a little bit about why luxury properties and that sort of thing find it necessary to use auction services. And then he branched off of that, and now he runs his own company, SparkOffer, and we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. So without further ado, Mike, welcome to Real Estate Rockstars.
Hi, Pat. Thanks for having me.
Why don't you give everybody a little rundown on yourself, Mike?
Sure. I've been around luxury real estate for the last 15 years. I actually started my career at corporate Sotheby's International Realty. Branched off and became one of the principal owners of Sotheby's International Realty in Aspen, Colorado through the crash of the market, which that was a lot of fun. I've always said since then that nobody needs to buy a home in Aspen. After that, in 2010, I became one of the principal owners of Concierge Auctions. During my 7 years there, I and my team auctioned over $1 billion of luxury homes in 26 states and 15 countries.
Wow.
Participating in properties ranging from 2 to over, actually, since I left, I represented a buyer at an auction for $42 million in Florida.
Wow.
So, really everything from kind of that $2 million, standard home on the main line of Philly to, literally one-of-a-kind properties that are rarely found. And into about a year and a half ago, I left 3 years ago. A year and a half ago, I decided to found SparkOffer, and as a marketplace to help buyers, sellers, and agents accelerate and transact on luxury properties in a more transparent fashion.
Well, let's dig deep into this. So first of all, like I said, I want to start off with the auction thing, right? So you spent 7 years there, right? And you tons and tons of properties, tons. So why is it that someone selling a house for $42 million can't sell it, for the most part, the traditional methods by putting it on MLS? Why is it that all these luxury properties need to have an auction to move on?
So first, I wouldn't say it's all of these luxury properties. When you look at
why is it popular there where it's not, you don't see it a lot in the middle range, the median price range?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, number one is that it's rarefied air in most cases, right? Depending on the marketplace. There's forget the property for $42 million was on MLS, and it was being traditionally marketed in Florida for a number of years for $167 million, right? And so,
Wait a minute. Slow this down. Okay, so the $42 million property was marketed for $167 million?
might have been 165, but
Good Lord. Okay.
165.
Clearly it didn't work. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, but you're looking for just an amazingly small buyer pool, right? So typically the seller that goes to auction is not distressed. They're simply ready to find a market that's qualified to buy their home. And they're tired of trying to guess at what that looks like. And that's essentially what you do when you list a property for a fixed price on the MLS, is that you're hoping for the agent to have the correct outreach. You're hoping that somebody happens to be searching on the internet in your town, in your price range. And so that's really works awesome when you live in Boston and you're trying to sell a place for 2 to 3 million, because there's tons of people looking for that. But you go outside of that where you're in a town that may not be where people are looking for that type of property, or a price range in any town where there's not just a high buyer pool for that. The internet isn't necessarily the best place.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, so, and you use the word distressed. The seller's generally not distressed. I mean, that's an ambiguous word in the luxury market, right? Because, like, of course they're not, they could be a billionaire, which is a lot of money, right? And they own a house that they think is worth 169. They end up selling it for 42. You could say, they weren't distressed. Well, that's just because they had so much cash laying around, right?
Right.
Because someone would look at that and say, hell yeah, that was a distressed sale, because they had 105 in it. So, like, what percentage of houses that you guys sold via auction do you think people had more improvements in than they actually sold for? More, you know what I mean? Like, they had more money in it.
I know exactly what you mean. And I don't know that that's necessarily just a luxury auction question. I think that by and large holds true for luxury properties in general. The market has just been shifting so much. For example, I sold a property in Darien, Connecticut at auction in 2011 for 6.6 million. And I was recently just visiting with that agent, and he told me in 2011, we thought that price was just a fire sale price. And today I couldn't sell that property for that much. I couldn't get 6.6 million for it today.
And then the seller in 2011 was losing money on the deal.
Yes.
So, yeah. And I see that myself too. I've known some people that have had houses that they've had $5 million and they've completely over improved to personalize for themselves, which you tend to do. If you've got that sort of money, of course, why wouldn't you, right? But then when it says, when the kids grow up and they move out and they're like, okay, well, let's go a different direction or move somewhere, they end up taking up a significant bath, right? 50% or more. I mean, so do you would it be safe to say, and I know it depends, you always hear about, stuff in pockets like Beverly Hills or whatever, where Britney Spears paid $9 million, then she sells it for $15 million. But it seems like more than not, I would guess, 80%, do you think, sell for less than they actually have in it?
I think it could be that high. I'm not sure. It would be an educated guess, but
yeah.
The average, I think most of these luxury homes, like, I've been around Greenwich a lot lately, and Greenwich there's so many houses that people either bought for much more, even post the crash, or they've built since the crash, and they'll sell them for somewhere between 30 to 50% less in today's market than they have in them. Right. Yeah.
And I wonder how much of that is, first of all, number one, that they have the money to lose, right? They're like, okay. And number two, a personality style, right? Because if you have that much money, chances are you did something very aggressive that required a lot of action. And that type of personality, really doesn't have time to have their house on the market for 3 years, right? They're going to be like, look, I need to get this sucker sold.
It just depends. I think the average person, no matter how wealthy you are, there's sort of this ingrained philosophical part of us here in the U.S. that our real estate should be appreciating, and
Yeah.
and so I think that's a pretty hard dynamic shift, and I think you're seeing that across all price points for the most part. It just depends, on demographic shift. I mean, we have, even in traditional price points, if you're in the suburbs outside a city, the average millennial today, and then on top of it, the average baby boomer looking to retire is saying, I want to live somewhere where I can walk to get my coffee and I can walk to get the newspaper. And so in these other towns where they're great towns, predominantly upper middle class, have great school systems, people aren't necessarily choosing to live there.
Yeah, interesting. So, all right. So talk to me about, generally you only see auctions, and this is my opinion. I don't know if it's true or not, but I in my world, I see auctions with investors, right? You see investors, you see auctions, right? I know a company in Baltimore where I'm from that just does nonstop auctions of these little things in Baltimore City under 100 grand, or say under 200 grand, and tons of people show up for the auctions, and investors are buying them generally, right? Because they require a 10% down payment and buyer premium and all this stuff that first-time buyers really can't get involved in them. So it's generally investor-driven. So I see it huge there, and I also see it in luxury. Do you think that in between, do you think that it'll bleed in between, and one day in the future it will all be kind of auction-based?
No, I have a lot of people that, you meet people, especially when I was in the auction business, and say, we're going to just be like Australia and everything's going to be at auction. First of all, about half of things are auctioned in Australia. It's not all of it. And also their auction is just a more transparent multiple offer process. So when you see auctions in Australia, at least, and I've talked to a lot of people in Australia, is that the properties that are going to auction are properties that are in high demand, not in low demand. And so it's a complete different ideological shift of like, when am I auctioning a property? So that's just an absolute philosophical difference in why they're auctioning more there, but they're auctioning more their primary inventory.
Yeah, and I guess if you're in an environment where there's more social proof, it's easier to put your house up for auction. I think a lot of people here are reluctant to do it because what if it doesn't work? We're in Australia. If you know 12 people that did it and got great prices, you're like, I'm going to do that, right? But here it's like, I don't know. What if it doesn't work? You know what I mean? What if I get a lowball bid and I have to take it? TribeOfMillionaires.com. Guys, write that down. Rockstar Nation got a free special offer for you. Now, I've just written a book, and it's just been published. Co-authored it with David Osborne, who's been on this show multiple times. If you don't know David, he is one of the top execs at Keller Williams Real Estate, was personally mentored for the last 2 decades by Gary Keller himself, and he's in all kinds of businesses. His bio and explanation and everything is in this book. But anyways, David and I got together. We decided to write a book. We called it Tribe of Millionaires. And I guarantee you it's going to change your life. To find out more, just go to tribeofmillionaires.com. We're going to give it to you absolutely free. Only thing we ask in return is, of course, number one, you pay the shipping. Not a big deal. But number two, that you go on Amazon and write us a review. We're really looking to get an incredible amount of reviews, and because of that, we're giving this book away for free. Go to tribeofmillionaires.com today.
Yeah, so if you don't mind, that's exactly why I created SparkOffer.
Yeah, let's merge into that.
So I created SparkOffer as largely a software platform that operates on a couple different bases. One is, one of the things that keeps people from either selling at auction or buying at auction is either one of the things that you just said is, if I'm a seller, I've got a fear that I've got to take this certain price, right? Or two, if I'm a buyer, it's outside the norm of what the agents and the buyers are used to doing, what's customary in buying a piece of real estate, meaning that I come to an agreement of price. I elect to probably get a mortgage, and I do my inspections after all of that is agreed upon. In the auction process, you have to figure all that out prior, so that the minute you raise your hand and say, I'm bidding X, if the gavel goes down and you met the reserve or was a no reserve, whatever it is, you're buying that property, right? The other thing is, depending on the auction firm, whether it's even like a mass scale auction, like an auction.com, which is doing the distressed properties.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or you're doing like my old firm at Concierge Auctions, the buyer premium that's tacked on top of that gavel price ranges somewhere between 5%, like at auction.com, to 12% at Concierge Auctions. Mm-hmm. Right. So it's a pretty hefty premium, especially in a world where people are saying, wow, I want to fight over 5 or 6% commission.
Yeah, and psychologically, they're used to the seller paying the commission, right?
Correct. So, but every seller, wants to get more than one offer, right? That's the holy grail.
Right. Yeah. Because it's right. Because it shows proof. Shows proof that, well, maybe it's not worth what I thought it was, or maybe, you know what I mean, better or worse. It shows proof that is the market.
Yes. So in relation to SparkOffer, what I say is we've created an auction-like process, meaning that it prompts people to make offers. It actually shows all parties that are following a property how many offers have been made on the property, but it doesn't disclose pricing, right? It doesn't disclose terms. And
right, because that would be illegal, right? Like doesn't that goes against some?
Well, it's not illegal in an auction. They show the prices.
Let's think about this. So, real estate agent, you can't quote unquote shop an offer, right? You can't go to one agent and go, well, you can, right? It's called an escalation clause.
Yeah. But escalation clause is still typically done in secret.
Yeah, it is. Right? It is. Right.
And it so, is. But we're not showing other parts.
You're not showing. Okay. So let's dumb this down. Explain to me like a third grader can understand what is SparkOffer.
Sure. So SparkOffer is essentially a software platform that's helping buyers, sellers, and agents facilitate the offer process in a more transparent way. Right. So offers come in, literally offers get submitted on the software, right? And those offers are then broadcast out to anyone that's interested in the party of that an offer has been submitted, and that's it. So if I've received 3 offers, everyone knows I've received 3 offers. Any person can go to our website and see that this house has 3 offers, but they don't know what for, how much. Right?
Yeah.
And so
let's other agents know whether an agent is lying, right? Because some agents bullshit, right? Oh, I got 4 offers on this. You better make it your best.
That's right.
Right. So it's proof of that.
And I think
that's the bullshit out of agents. Well, basically, agents lying.
The world's done with that, right? They're done with being played, right? There's too much in our lives by having a phone on our person that's 95% of the population or something over 18 keeps within arm's distance 24 hours a day, right? I can know everything I want about almost anything in 2 seconds. And so that's the logic behind SparkOffer is it's not right to tell somebody what one person is offering versus another, but let's tell them that legitimately there's an offer.
There is a real offer, and then a real offer, they have to jump through some hoops, right? There is a barrier to entry. It can't be just some guy texting saying, I I'll give you this. You gotta. How do you have them put their money where their mouth is so that the other guy in the platform knows it's a real offer?
So they have to have, whether it's agent submitted or buyer direct submitted, they have to sign a contract, right? Or a purchase offer, if you will. That's actually a signed document. If it's the agent submitting, they're putting a copy of an escrow check, if that's common in the market, and they're putting a proof of funds or a pre-qual letter, a pre-approval letter that has been generated in that person's name. And if those three things were not attached to the offer when submitted to SparkOffer, it won't actually go through.
Yeah, there's no reason they couldn't, like, I mean, you get your money back anyways, right? So eventually you would think they would be able to Venmo $1,000 or whatever, because you get it back. So the paper check is certainly not as strong, you know.
We actually have it in our roadmap that we'll be able to take initial escrow deposits by phone. That's coming next year.
Yeah, and that means on a phone, on a screen. Not, he doesn't mean by calling it in. So
correct.
Yeah. So and then tell me about how, like, all this communication then is on a phone and not via voice, because I've had some experiences recently that's kind of shocked me at first, but then the more I thought about it, the more I said, should I go to this protocol? And the only reason I didn't, because my mom and dad call me on my phone and are old fashioned and leave messages. But I've had some, I've called some people recently that just simply said, I do not take voice messages, text me. And kind of that's what you're trying to do with SparkOffer. And your belief structure is the future will not have voice, right? I mean, in the negotiation process. And also tell me about how the benefit that everybody gets from this.
Sure. So yes, I do strongly believe that the future does not have voice. And SparkOffer is built as a mobile first that communicates through the parties between texting primarily, because it's where most people are living today. One thing that became a big aha moment for me was 2 years ago, my college-age son was getting calls from whoever he rented his books from, asking them to be returned. And then 3 months later, we get an email saying, we've been trying to reach so-and-so and they've not returned our calls and you're going to be assessed some higher fee. Come to find out, he had been getting voicemails from this company, but he's like, I don't check voicemail. I don't look. So if it's not an email or a text message to a college-age student, which is the next buyer in our next 5 to 10 years, as far as they're concerned, it didn't exist. Right.
It almost should be an option on a phone, right? Where like you could just like block every call, like, right? Like if a call comes through, they can't leave a message.
Right.
You know what I mean? It just goes, well, it just makes some noise.
I think they do. I think they do. How you just don't set up your voicemail.
Yeah, you don't set up a voicemail, or you forward it to a fax machine and just go beep.
So the in my mind, and actually the fax machine's a good segue, right? And so if you look at the major evolutions of the real estate offer process, the first one was the fax machine, right? Like, wow, like instead of trying to hand deliver it or mail it, we can have an offer faxed from one office to the next. And then the next big evolution was e-signatures, right? And so everybody's e-signaturing at least the initial offers and maybe a first counter offer. But after that, it'll go to email. Some markets like New York City and Greenwich, Connecticut, they only work off of email. They're not actually in many markets what we'd consider a legitimate offer, if you will, or certainly not a binding offer. And so SparkOffer's goal when we set out for this was to take this next step in the technology to say, let's have people e-sign offers on their phone. Let's have them negotiate via their phone. Let's have everything that is in this device that is sort of like a personal tracking device, if you will, that we don't leave without an arm distance of our body over a 24-hour period. Like, let's use that device because that's where people are. right? That's where they're living, and and we can speed up the transaction if we can live where they're living.
Yeah, because right now you have this, in my opinion, you have an inefficiency of, the buyer tells the agent, then the agent tells the other agent, then the other agent tells the seller.
Correct.
And if all four were in the same room and someone said, the roof leaks in the, far right corner, and the seller says, that's no problem, I'll take care of it. Right? It's right there in the room. Like it's like a Slack room. It's like a room, right? It's there. It's all together. That's where everything's going. So you could easily find that. And it also ties into another interesting concept that I'm a big believer in. And that is the philosophy of it is harder to hate up close. And I'll repeat that. It's harder to hate up close. And that was Chris Christie was the first one to say that. But because he always had his meetings, and any issues where there were going to be controversial meetings, he would call them in a conference room, have them up close, and they would always go so much smoother. And I think the same thing applies. Like a lot of times agents get in the way and they ruin a transaction, or they make it 10 times worse. Where if the buyer and seller just were in the same room, they wouldn't be such jerks.
I probably wouldn't have said that, but now that you say that, I mean, it is a big part of the business today. And I think the consumer, both the buyer and the seller, are the ones that are feeling that the most, where they're saying, and you hear it all the time, actually, it's like, if you could just let us talk, I think we can figure it out. I don't think we need to have these artificial barriers. And I think that's sort of like, ingrained in the real estate or realtor or agent personality from, decades of being spread across the business, to say, like, our job is like, we've got to play referee.
Right. Do the math. It's worth every single dollar. That's a title of a comment that I got on my certified listing agent course from Rebus University. It's from Bill Reeg. This is what Bill says. Bill says, looking to take your listing presentation to the next level? I've closed 100 appointments since I took Pat's certified listing agent course. 5 appointments, 5 new clients, 60 days. Boom, do the math. It's worth every single dollar. Thanks, Bill. But listen, guys, I am offering this to you if you haven't already taken it, because so many brokers and teams make their agents take it before they do a single listing appointment. But if you haven't taken it, you can go to rebusuniversity.com and get it now. Now, here's the thing. For 30 days, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you that course. I'm going to give you the buyer agent course, which teaches you how to close every single serious buyer that calls on the phone or emails. The certified team agent course is taught by Jeff Cohn, one of America's top agents, on how to build a team from zero to hero to hundreds and hundreds of units every year, step by step. It's like a 12-hour course, plus 7 other courses. Yes, you heard that right. All for a measly $127 a month. If you were to go to Rebus University and buy these courses individually, it costs you over $10,000. But today, if you go to futureofrealestatetraining.com, that's futureofrealestatetraining.com, you'll learn what Bill Reeg did, which is how to close 100% of the listing appointments you go on. Quite impressive. And you'll learn all the other incredible details provided in the 11 5-star courses that are offered. Yeah, it's like all you can eat bazaar. You go in now and you pay $127 a month. If you can eat all 11 courses in 1 month, that's all you pay is $197. This is a bargain, guys. Get it now. Futureofrealestatetraining.com. Hey, Real Estate Rockstars, this is Pat Hyben, and before we jump back into today's content, I want to tell you about an extraordinary offer from an extraordinary company. I'm talking about My Outdesk. If you haven't heard of My Outdesk, basically they're a virtual assistant company, a VA company that specializes in virtual assistants for real estate agents. Yeah, I'm talking about transaction coordinators, marketing assistants. I'm talking about ISAs, inside sales agents that prospect thousands and thousands of seller leads and buyer lead follow-ups. I mean, these guys are trained in this stuff specifically. You're not using a company that doesn't know or understand real estate sales. 4 out of 5 of the top teams in the US use My Outdesk for their virtual assistants. And because I know the owner, Daniel Ramsey, I've known him for over a decade, and I know how awesome and incredible this company is and how it saves agents thousands and thousands of dollars every single week and makes them thousands and thousands of more every single week. We're going to give you a $400 coupon off of your first month of a virtual assistant and give you a free book entitled Scaling Your Business with Virtual Professionals. So you can read it and look into it before you decide anything. It's called Scaling Your Business with Virtual Professionals. And you can get it real easy. All you got to do is text the word HIBAN, H-I-B-A-N, to 31996. That's H-I-B-A-N to 31996. And download your free book, Scaling Your Business with Virtual Professionals. And don't forget to mention also that you get a $400 discount, which will give you a coupon for that when you download the book. Thank you, guys, and I hope you enjoy and make a ton of money using My Outdesk. Well, here's the thing. I think some of it falls in that the agents need to feel like they've earned their money, which is another debate all in it itself. But also the agents, and the buyers or sellers may want the protection. I mean, that's kind of why they have an agent, right? So they could, so they might not want to be face to face with the seller or the buyer, and that's what they're paying for. So
yeah, I think across my career and some other great agents that I've known over the years. And why do people really hire them? Do they hire them to market their property? Yeah, to some degree. Do they hire them for the job to be done of selling my property? Yes. But amongst all that, it's I'm looking for counsel, right? I'm looking for real advice on how to get the job done of selling my home, selling it the quickest, and getting me the best price, right? And that really is going to become more and more, I think, evident in the future as everything that's swirling around the industry starts to become, play itself out over the next 5 years. I was having a conversation. If you look at the major scramble and somebody was saying, hey, do you think agents are really going to use SparkOffer because, making offers on this technology platform? And I said, yeah, I think they are. And I think we're early in the game. But, 5 years ago, Open Door just came to life, right? And between Open Door and Zillow and OfferPad, it's the most hot contested part of the agent sphere today in what is the iBuyer doing to the market. And 5 years ago, it didn't exist.
Yeah, right. I've always kind of been a believer in that because I always thought that from the offer to the contract, right, there was zero in between. You had to fill out an 80-page document with wet signatures, right, to make an offer. And yet if you go to commercial real estate, it's all letter of intent, right? It's all if you want to buy something or rent something with commercial real estate, you just put a letter of intent. It's half a page. Right. Then they just tell you whether they consider or not. If not, then you haven't wasted that much time, right? You haven't had to read 80 pages, right? It's just price, settlement date, any other pertinent terms. And I've always thought that real estate on the residential side should be much more of a letter of intent world, especially with investors doing lowball offers or really anybody. And it kind of also gives the seller some sense of satisfaction in that at least they could say they got an offer, right? How many sellers I've heard say, well, we've had 40 showings and haven't had a single offer. Maybe if there was a letter of intent system, they said, well, we've had 5 offers, but they've all been low. Maybe I am overpriced. I've had 5 offers and they're all low. That would be considered, quote unquote, market speaking to me.
Yeah, so there's a lot of interesting points in that, right? So one is it just depends on what's customary in your market. Like I said, they literally do offers via email. At least with a buyer direct offer on SparkOffer, it's a 2-page offer that covers the basics: price, inspections, mortgage, what you'd generally see in an offer. The market speaking part of like, hey, I've had 40 showings and I've had no offers, that's a whole different gambit that we're trying to attack at SparkOffer, which is today, I think when people see your house listed online for a specific price, I actually had this conversation with someone earlier today where they were saying, my seller says, I'm just telling them to just make me an offer. Just make me an offer. But the buyer won't waste their time if they think that the where they're at versus what the list price is too great, right? Either they're afraid to insult the person, either they just don't want to waste their time, whatever it is. If they think the gap is too great, they just won't take the leap. And so that's where I think the market has made a big fundamental shift. Gone are the days of making even a sub 15% offer, right? If you're not within that. We had an early property on SparkOffer that was listed at 524, had huge amount of showings over the weekend, had 8 people following it from the showings over the weekend. And I told the sellers, listen, you got to lower the price to $499. And they took that action, lowered it to $499, and they had 3 offers in 24 hours because the prompting was all happening through the watchers, and they got near full price at that $499.
So wait a minute. So did all the people that looked at it know about the offers, or just the people that bidded?
The people that signed up to follow the property via SparkOffer.
So when you make the showing, you could be like, follow this offer on SparkOffer.
Yes, exactly. Never lose out on the opportunity to make an offer again.
Interesting. And then it just says an offer has been made.
Correct.
Then they're like, okay, well, we got to make a decision.
You got it.
Yeah, I like that. Right? Because a lot of people, again, go back to that word social proof. They want that. Because as soon as one person says, I want it,
yeah,
it makes it okay. It makes it like, okay, I'm not making a dumb decision, right? Like someone else sees what I see.
Yeah, well, I read on your bio or what have you that Barbara Corcoran's been on your show. She was our strategic advisor at Concierge, and Barbara had a great saying, which is everybody wants what everybody wants and nobody wants what nobody wants.
Isn't that the truth?
It's complete truth.
Rightly or wrongly, but it's true. But yeah. Well, that's really cool. So let's talk about the white paper you wrote, which, by the way, we're going to, guys, if you're driving, just keep listening because we're going to use it as Mike's free gift. But talk about that a little bit.
Sure. So the white paper really walks through a little bit about what we talked about today, which is, some data on where the market's going in relation to people more apt to use their phone than verbal. They're moving away from talking to people altogether and just texting, and then how we're bridging that gap on bringing that experience to making an offer on a home.
Yeah, and I think you're right? You can't stop a generation, right? Because my kids are the same way. Like I don't think I could leave them a message, right? It'd be like, why, right? They just don't. They just don't do messages. And it's getting to the point they don't do emails either. They might do emails like, once a 3 weeks or something.
I have to text my kids to tell them to look at something I sent them on email.
Yeah. So, and I don't think you could stop that wave. I don't think anybody's going to get in front of that, right? It's just going to happen. It is what it is. There's something about human nature that is causing us to simplify and be fast and be efficient and get to the point. And I think that's pretty much what SparkOffer is, right? It's all those things. Yeah.
It's all those things.
So, guys, what I'm going to do, I'm going to make this real easy. I'm going to put it at hybendigital.com/SparkOffer. I'll just do that. It's easy to remember. SparkOffer. That's hybendigital.com/SparkOffer. I'm going to put all of Mike Russo's contact information. I'm going to put any social media links he wants to share. And I'm going to put the white paper on this because I think it's going to be fascinating for you guys to read. And also, of course, just like any free gift, I'm going to put it in the Agent Success Toolbox, which could be found on hybendigital.com/toolbox, or just text the word toolbox to 444-999 and get Mike's white paper plus all the other free gifts that all the other guests have brought. Mike, listen, next time I'm in Boston, Massachusetts, I will definitely look you up and we'll get together and talk about the future of real estate sales and agents and everything else. I'd love to continue this conversation.
Thank you, Pat. I really enjoyed it.
I want you to think about the word toolbox. What is a toolbox? A toolbox is a box full of tools that you use to build something great. At Real Estate Rockstars, we've created our own free toolbox. So everybody that comes on the show as a guest brings a tool with them, and we plow them all into this toolbox, and we give it away for our viewing audience to basically use as they wish. Everything we put in there is an actionable item that can be downloaded, can be printed, can be used immediately. And we got things like scripts and dialogues, checklists for teams, checklists to keep agents accountable, referral forms that are filled out at settlement to get referrals by your buyers and sellers. Everything you can think of that you could use on a regular basis about real estate is included in this toolbox. And it's helping agents worldwide sell more houses and make their jobs a lot easier and processes much more efficient. And the thing is, it's absolutely free. All you got to do is go to hybendigital.com/toolbox or text the word toolbox to 444-999. That's toolbox 444-999. Do it now.
Rockstar Nation, thank you for listening to Real Estate Rockstars. Listen, I need a favor. If you find this free content helpful, if you find our downloadable items from each guest helpful, please, I need you to pull out your pointing finger. Yes, the one finger that points at people, and hit subscribe. Yes, subscribe. The more subscribers we get, the better we look in the ratings, and the easier it is to get guests like Robert Kiyosaki, Barbara Corcoran, all the players that are on $1 million listing in the different cities. All that stuff makes it easier the more subscribers we get, so please subscribe. And listen, there's a lot of places you can leave comments. There's a lot of places you can like. We're on Facebook. We have an Instagram page. Instagram page is I am Pat Hyben. The Facebook is Real Estate Rockstars Radio. Feel free to leave us comments there. The most popular form of commenting seems to happen on YouTube. Yes, for whatever reason, it's a very open environment. So just go to YouTube and go to Real Estate Rockstars Radio. Leave us comments there. Some of them we will read on the show. We love your feedback. So thanks, guys, and I hope you are having a great day. Oh, and also, listen, if you're going to subscribe and you haven't already left a review on iTunes, please do that too. Have a great day, and thanks so much, Rockstar Nation. I really appreciate you.